thank the rapporteurs for their excellent reports, but I will, on behalf of the UEL, focus on Mr. Bernd Fabricius' report. I congratulate the rapporteur for his work, which highlights a general trend of deterioration in the rule of law among the Council of Europe member countries and brings that alarming situation under the attention of the PACE. As a citizen of Turkey and an opposition deputy in the Turkish parliament, I find myself in an awkward position vis-à-vis the major focus of the report. On the one hand, the report, far from singling Turkey out as a Council of Europe country where the rule of law is under threat, provides abundant evidence that the rule of law is disrupted, at least in the 4 other selected countries too. In this respect, the report by no means could be stigmatized as Turkophobic and or Islamophobic and strips the ruling AKP of a major pretext to which they frequently resort in order to refute international criticisms pertaining to the breach of the rule of law in Turkey. Further, the report verifies the criticisms we have been domestically raising regarding the collapse of the rule of law in Turkey, where 5% of the MPs, including our co-chairs, Mr. Demirtas and Ms. Yüksekdağ, are in prison. But on the other hand, the report provides abundant hint that applying similar criteria used by the rapporteur, we could also include many other Council of Europe member countries in a longer list where rule of law is under threat. Allow me to recall the reports that we dealt with in this ongoing session that we will handle tomorrow and many others we discussed throughout past years. Then this very situation itself becomes a source of concern for the peoples who suffer from the breach of the principle of the rule of law and the separation of powers. Questions are justifiably raised how peoples may count on an international human rights organizations whose many member states themselves have become a major source of violation of rights and freedoms. Nevertheless, this apparent contradiction might also generate further strength as long as the PACE members, as the representatives of the peoples, speak out boldly on every platform at home and overseas in the name of the peoples against the defects of their own states. I therefore strongly support the recommendations by the rapporteur directed at the Turkish authorities that the state of emergency should be lifted as the coup d'etat as such has failed, the active elements are crushed, and tens of thousands of suspects are jailed, and that the government should stop exploiting the emergency case as a leverage for setting up a lawless dictatorship, and that the constitutional amendments secured in the fraudulent referendum of 16 April 2017 should be annulled, as these serve the attempts at establishing a dictatorship in the midst of the Council of Europe, and that the judicial system should be liberated from the yoke of the executive, which is unlawfully headed by the president, and that the 9 HDP deputies and co-chairs and 1 CHP deputy should be immediately released, and cases against 150 parliamentarians should be suspended. The place of the parliamentarians is the parliament.